are about to be live. All right, great. Now we are done. Well, let's start. So as I was mentioning, for those of you who have just joined the class tonight, today we're going to discuss a very important and simple topic. That is the second task of the writing section. This task, dear students, as I told you, I think that you're going to find it very simple. I'm very much confident about it. And I think that you're also going to find the structure and the material that I'm going to offer you today very much useful. All right. So without any other previous commentary, let us start with the presentation. Let me share my screen and let me show you here what we have. Okay, let's go. Well, so if you remember last week, we had started to discuss the writing section. And we said that the writing section is divided into two different tasks. We talked about, first of all, the integrated task that we have practiced several times, that we have actually reviews on essays for you with all the outlines and elements of that task. We have also discussed the independent writing task. Oh, excuse me, we are going to discuss tonight the independent writing task. And with that, we will be finalizing the writing section whatsoever, okay? So as I say, the second task is called the independent writing task. And well, the outlines, the general aspects and outlines remain. You have to write down your response, having a keyword that is settled with American English configuration. And you have to, of course, in this case, write down an essay, respecting all the grammatical and all the vocabulary, orthodox that exists in English. And as I say, having the best ability to organize into a structure every single word and idea you want to include in your essay. Okay, fantastic. Let us move on now to the second task of the writing section. This is called, as you can see, independent essay. And this is the reason why I told you and I mentioned you. I think it's going to be super familiar to you, because the first task of the speaking section was also called independent task. And for the writing section, task number 2, this is exactly the case. Independent essay, that is the title for this essay. And actually we have the picture of the same man that we use as an illustration for the first task of the speaking section. If you remember, Ben Shapiro is here with us tonight. And well, why? Because the second task, dear students, just as it happened with the first task of the speaking section, is going to ask you to write down an essay in which you state, you explain, and you support your opinion on an issue. All right? We are coming back to the same scenario, and we are coming back to the same panorama in which you need to identify this task with a debate. When you're writing this essay, please, I want you to think as if you were being a debater, as if you were being a Ben Shapiro. Why? Because as I told you, you are not merely required, you are not merely requested to give your opinion. I mean, you are requested to give it, but you need to defend it as well. And that is an essential part of every single debate, defending your opinion, sustaining, supporting what you think, okay? That is essential. You need to remember that, okay? Fantastic. What else? For this essay, dear students, you will have 30 minutes, okay? 30 minutes in order to complete it. As you can see, you have 10 additional minutes when compared to the first task, in which you had 20 minutes to write down your essay. And that is, of course, going to that is going to affect somehow the development and the criteria for the reviewer to punctuate and to offer a score to your essay. Because certainly, as you are given the opportunity here to have more time, 30 minutes overall, they are going to be expecting you to write more words. We are going to discuss that, but don't worry. Another very important thing. In this case, dear students, and as we have said already in the speaking section, this is the time for you to give your opinion and to mention any information you may have gathered during your entire life. If you have gathered information, data, experiences, illustrations, commentaries, quotations, phrases, all that is valuable and appreciated material for this task. You don't have any limitation. That is what is called independent. Please use all the literary advices you have learned. use all the illustrations, the experiences you have had, use all the data, the information you have gathered here. You are independent, okay? That is the reason why this is called independent essay as well, of course. Well, what else? Your objective in this essay, dear students, as I told you as well in the first task of the speaking section, is to be secure, convincing about your position, okay? So for those of you who are just joining us, we are saying that in the second task of the writing section, what we have to do is to offer our opinion about a general topic and to defend our opinion just as we did it in the first task of the speaking section. We need to identify this task as a debate, as if we were being a debater, as Ben Shapiro, and we need to offer what we believe and think about a particular issue and then to defend that position. Okay, very important. What is our objective with this question? Our objective with this question and with this essay is to be secure about our position and to be convinced. That is important, okay? That is what you have to know. Well, what else? Following a slide. The following slide says this. It will be excellent, okay, dear students, if you can reach 450 words for this part of the test. Why do I say this? The minimum quantity of words for this essay is 300, okay? It's not as if you were being required to write down yes or yes for 150 words. No, the minimum quantity of words is 300. Now, what is a good essay, or what constitutes, let's say, the general pattern of people who have managed to get a high score in this section? Well, they get more than 400 words. So if you're looking for excellence in this exam, if you're looking for having a high score, please, as I say, you need to write down more than 450 words or something about 450 words, okay? The minimum quantity of words, nonetheless, is just 300, okay? Anyways, is, I would say, twice what you were requested to write down in the first task of the writing section, and that is something you need to have in mind. You're given extra minutes, you're given 10 extra minutes to write down this essay, but nonetheless, that doesn't mean that you are not required as well to have more words. Yes, you are required to have 150 additional words, because if you remember, for the first task of the writing section, you needed to write down how many words? 150 as a minimum, right? And now you have to write down 300 as a minimum. And if you want to have a good quantity of words, you need to write down 450, something about it, okay? Important. Now, don't worry if you are struggling a little bit with the quantity of words. As I confessed to you some weeks ago when we were starting this section, I told you that personally, the most difficult section was this one because I was terrible at typing. I was awful. I discovered that I was able to write down something like 70 words in 20 minutes. So what did I do in order to practice and to improve at typing? Well, I used some free resources on the internet, and here I want to give you some of them. As you can see, if you look at my screen, there are two different websites here. The first one says typingtest.com, and the other one says sense.lang.org. These are very useful websites. Trust me, all of them contain exercises for measuring how many words you type in 1 minute. They contain courses that are free, exercises for your typing. Everything you may need in order to improve in this area is here. Now, I want to send these links to you. I have them here on my WhatsApp. Here you have the first one. Great. And as I say, this constitutes, dear students, a tremendously valuable resource, okay? So if you get into this website, you're going to discover you have the opportunity to measure how many words you can write down per minute. You can actually practice as well exercises, courses, tricky keys, type rush races, everything, okay? Use this material. Trust me, it's going to be very much important for you to improve in your typing, okay? Awesome. Well, apart from this, let me come back here to my presentation. Well, what else, dear students? What else? Let us go and check this out on the simulator. I want to make sure that you understand how is this going to look like on the actual exam. So please let me open this. All right, and here you have. Look at my screen. you're going to be able to see the interface or the menu you're going to be looking at on the exam. Okay, very similar. On one side of your screen, you will have these instructions. Of course, you don't need to read them on that day because you know what to do already. You need to write down an essay that normally, for an effective essay, will have a minimum of 300 words. The quality of your writing includes the development of your ideas, the organization of your essay, the quality and accuracy of the language you express, and how much time you have, 30 minutes in order to plan and complete this essay. Now, what is the only material you're going to receive from ETS? Now, let us make some feedback. When we were discussing the first task of the writing section, I mentioned you something very important, that you were not somebody allowed at that time to complement material you received from ETS, because ETS, you remember the first task we were practicing yesterday, gave you two different information sources. They gave you a reading passage and they gave you a lecture. And your task was to summarize both materials without complementing nor altering any of those materials. That was for the first task. Now, in this independent essay, you are not going to receive anything from ETS apart from this super short statement. And as I say, for your special group, that I remember you have fantastic performance on the first task of the speaking section, this will be tremendously familiar to you. Let's read. This is the topic or the subject that ETS is going to give you for your essay. And this is the only, let's say, outline or element you need to follow. Apart from this, you are completely independent. In your essay, you need to mention your opinion, your ideas, your illustrations, your data, your information, your knowledge, but nothing that ETS suggests to you. Anything else. The only thing you mention and that you have to obey ETS, in this case, is this passage or this topic here. It says, some parents, in this case, right, forbid young children from owning smartphones, that is to say, cell phones with internet classes or access. Sorry. While others disagree and believe that they are important tools for keeping in touch, which point of view do you think is better and why? So as you can say, dear students, this is the only topic or subject you're going to receive from ETS. Apart from this, dear students, you are not going to receive anything from ETS. This is the only thing they give you. And of course, this is the only, let's say, limitation or boundary you should respect. That is to say, if they give you a topic about smartphones in your essay, you shouldn't deviate yourself from that topic. You shouldn't start writing down about cell phones or smartphones and to finalize your essay talking about, I don't know, vacations. That would be absurd, of course. Please respect this, okay? If they give you a topic about, as I say, cell phones in this case, right? Talk about cell phones. Use your opinion, use your ideas, your arguments, your illustrations, but everything related to you, to the topic they give you, okay? Wow. What else we have here? We have, as you can see, dear students, a very similar question to the one that we saw as well in the first task of the speaking section. It's a question that is, first of all, dividing, and secondly, it's controversial. And it's also trivial if you think about it. It's asking you about the very controversial topic of young children having smartphones, right? Some people dislike this, some people like this. That is the idea. They are asking you, which point of view do you think is better and why? Now, here I want to remark something very important. As you can see here, the question is basically reducing the range of responses for your essay to two different options or possibilities. They say, do you agree or disagree? Which point of view do you think is better and why? And they give you two different points of views. They give you the point of view that says that giving children smartphones is actually dangerous and a bad idea, and the other possibility that say, no, it is important to give them cell phones because they can keep in touch with their relatives, etc. The question, the topic, is giving you two different options. In your essay, dear students, what I recommend you is follow, obey that pattern. Write down a response, write down an essay that takes one of these positions. Don't go for a third one. don't propose an alternative response. That is something that I remember some of you did when we were practicing the first task of the speaking section. You remember? You offer a third possibility, a fourth path, a fourth response, a fourth choice. I'm not saying that is a sin, that is terrible. No. But if you want to accommodate ourselves to the outlines ETS gives us, let us try to follow this, okay? If they give you to choose from one of these positions, saying that smartphones are actually good for children to obtain and to have them, or for thinking that it is actually dangerous for children to have these devices, go for one of these possibilities, one of these options. Don't invent a third one, okay? And also, don't remain in the neutral grounds. That is to say, don't try to remain in the middle line, because as I told you, that is something that many people do. They try to respond to the question, the essay, not admitting that they agree or not admitting that they disagree. They try to be in the middle. They say, I think this is good, but I also find some right and actually rational possibilities here, right? They never decide themselves what they are defending. So as I say, you have to get decided, okay? Decide your position and defend it here, express it. And as we discussed in the first task of the speaking section, you don't actually have to remain loyal to your ideals in this case. If you find out that a response in this question is more easily defendable, a position that is easily defendable, go for that one, even if in the actual life you disagree with that. But if you know that it's easily defendable, that you can come up with a lot of arguments, ideas for that position, go for that one. Why not? Okay. Apart from that, the menu basically consists of this reply box. As you remember, dear students, well, as you can see here, you have the reply box, and here you write down your essay, right? Therefore, having cell phones is highly recommendable, whatever, right? Word counter, as you can see, every single time you write down a word, it augments, right? And, right, etc. Well, so here at the bottom, it says high word counter will still be available for you. And the buttons that say here, copy and paste, will also be available for you if you want to use them. Of course, in this case, I don't think there is an accurate manner to use them, because there is nothing to quote, right? At least in the first time, you had something to quote because you had the reading passage, and you could quote the reading passage by using copy and paste. In this case, I don't think there is any legal use of this ability. But if you want to, for example, quote a previous or aforementioned part of your own essay, you can do it by copy and paste as well. Anyways, the buttons are always going to be there, okay? Finally, you have the button that says next. And in this case, it's a very interesting button. Why? Because remember, dear students, that the last part you perform on in this exam is the writing section. You have the first task that comes always first, of course, and then you have the second task. And this is the last task you perform on the exam. When you finalize this task, when you finalize writing down this essay, dear students, that is all. The TOEFL exam has officially ended for you. No more. No more examples, no more exercises, no more questions, nothing else. You press next, and then the computer is going to show you your scores for the reading and for the listening section. And you will have to wait for 1 week approximately in order to receive the speaking and the writing section, because of course they need to be reviewed by a person, right? That's the reason why they take more time. But as I say, this is the last part you take on the exam, okay? So when you press next, or when the computer takes you to the other menu, that's all. You don't need to worry about anything else, okay? Fantastic. Well, is there any question, dear students, until this point about anything we have mentioned, anything we have discussed, or we can move on and discuss the template for this essay? Questions, dear students? Jorge, Sergio, Fabiana, Camila, Anaí, questions about this?
No question.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much, Anaí.
No
What about you
questions.
guys? Great, thank you. Sergio, a question? No? Awesome. Awesome. There we are. Okay, no questions, I think. Well, let's go and analyze the template. I have a gift for you. Here we are. The template, okay, for the second task of the writing section. Here you have it. Please go to the WhatsApp group, download this file and open it, okay? Once you open it, you're gonna be seeing what I see here. This is a document. As you can see, it says template writing task number 2, introduction, body, and conclusion. Well, fantastic, very important. The first thing you're going to notice, this template has actually 3 different parts when compared to the second, or excuse me, to the first task of the writing section, in which we only had introduction and body. Now we have a conclusion as well. So have that in mind. We're also going to be writing down a conclusion, okay? Don't worry, because everything you need to know about how to write every single part of this template is already included here. If you open this and if you scroll down, you're going to find out another thing. I took the freedom to write down one essay using this template and structure for you to see how to apply it on the actual exam, okay? So here we have the essay that we're going to be reviewing and analyzing tonight together. And then I'm going to tell you right now what is the topic I wrote it about, okay? Because of course, for all these tasks and for all these essays, you need to have a topic, right? Because without the topic, you cannot write down anything. The topic is the only obligation you have. When you read the topic, then you are free. But you need to know the topic, what you have to write about. And once you know that, you can start writing, okay? Fantastic. Well, let's start. What is the topic that I wrote this essay about and that we're going to use as an example for all the rest of this class? Well, let me show you. Here you have it. Right, there you are, dear students. The question or the topic or the subject for my essay is this one. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Reading is more educational than watching movies or TV. I repeat, the statement is this one. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Reading is more educational than watching movies or TV. Okay, this is the statement. This statement, I'm going to be defending it and expressing my opinion about on the essay. And you're going to notice, I want to say in advance, my opinion is that reading is indeed more educational than watching movies or TV. So you're going to notice that in my essay, as I'm going to be defending, first of all, stating my opinion and then defending it, you're going to notice that everything I wrote on my essay was defending this position. Reading is more educational than watching movies or TV, all right? This is the topic for the essay that I wrote on the document that I sent you and the one that we're going to use for practicing, okay? Awesome, let's come back. Well, here we are. And as you can notice, dear students, the first thing we have to complete, introduction. Here we have some elements, okay? And one more time, these elements have been highlighted by me so that you know when I'm showing you here the illustration that I wrote, what element corresponds to each part of my essay. For example, what is highlighted with yellow is fact number 1. What is highlighted with red is fact number 2. What is highlighted with blue, accordingly, is, of course, the rest of the introduction, okay? Very good. So this is the introduction. Let us discuss this, okay? Well, first of all, let me remember something very important. Let me remind you something very important. What is the final objective and, let's say, milestone for this essay? Remember that what you're trying to do, dear students, is to convince your reviewer that the position you're going to take is the correct one. Because remember, these questions that ETS give you, for example, this one, right? ETS gives you this question. Reading is more educational than watching movies or TV. In your same test room, if you're taking the IBT version, or if you're taking the home IBT version, the same, because you take it at the same time with more test takers in their homes, right? Many people are going to be divided. Some people are going to say, yeah, reading is more educational than watching movies or TV. But a great percentage of people will also say, no. Movies, TV are more educational than reading. And that is fine. That is the scenario. in your essay, your concern must be to write down a powerful essay, a compelling essay, an essay that is well defended and sustained in order for you to convince your reviewer that your position is right. Why do I mention this one more time? Because the template, as you can see, uses here fact number 1 and fact number 2. What are these facts? These facts are basically tested information that you are aware of, that you include right at the beginning of your essay for your opinion to be sustained even before you have mentioned it. Let me show you. Fact number 1. Let me show you how I use this fact number 1 in my essay. So you know, my position, the one that I'm defending, is that reading is indeed more educational than watching movies or TV, okay? So you're going to notice that these facts that I'm going to write down here are basically support for my position even before I have stated such position, okay? Let's see. It has been scientifically demonstrated decades ago that people who read 5 books per year have a wider vocabulary than the average people, okay? Here you have. As you can see, dear students, well, this is basically a fact, right? It's something that I was aware of when I wrote this essay, and that is discussing something that has been demonstrated, right? That people who read 5 books per year have a wider vocabulary than the average people, okay? That is what I mean by fact, is information, data that supports your opinion without even mentioning it, right? Because you have not said your opinion yet. You have not said what is your position, but you are starting to construct, let's say, the path for your opinion to be well sustained right from the beginning. Well, after you finalize with fact number 2, you continue with fact number 2. Let's see. Fact number 2. Likewise, TV has been widely recognized as destructive by several medical experts and researchers. I'm showing another information source. Well, in this case, it's a fact, right? Another data, another knowledge that, as I say, supports my opinion even when I have not mentioned it yet, okay? And that is the use of these 2 facts. You are supporting your opinion right from the beginning. Remember, to be convincing, what do you use to convince in the normal life? You use reasons, right? You say, people, hey, you should believe this because of this and this and this. That is exactly what we're conveying here on our essay as well, okay? So that is the use of these 2 different facts. When you finalize your facts, okay, that I say you have to write down freely with the information you have gathered in your own life, okay, you come up with the fact number 2, all right? And what is, excuse me, the fact number 2 is already discussed. You come up with this connector, accordingly, which means por lo tanto, right? Or en consecuencia. When you write down accordingly, is here, dear students, where you write down your opinion, okay? Once you write down accordingly, here is where your opinion comes, okay? So let me show you how I used it. Accordingly, TV is certainly not more educational than reading. I repeat, accordingly, TV is certainly not more educational than reading. Well, dear students, as you can see, this is my opinion and my position. That, if you notice, I'm not saying at the beginning, right? I'm basically prefacing my opinion, that is this one, right? TV is certainly not more educational than reading. I'm prefacing that with my 2 facts, and that is what makes it powerful, okay? Here I'm complementing. As a matter of fact, reading is absolutely superior to any TV education. Why do I do this? Because I want my opinion, dear students, to be as clear as possible. Remember that the body of your essay is going to be for defending your position. Therefore, if you're not able to convey right from the beginning what is the opinion you are defending, your reviewer is going to have a lot of trouble to review your essay. And that, of course, is going to be translated into a low score. So as I said, your opinion here, dear students, must be as clear as possible, very clear, very concise, very direct, okay? Please try not to be ambivalent. Try not to be, I don't know, confusing. Try to be direct, concise, clear. That is how your introduction and how your opinion should be stated, okay? Once you finalize this, dear students, here you have a transition phrase. This opinion is due to the following motives. You know how this works. I don't have to explain it. Well, remember, 2 points, right? Fantastic. Is there any question, dear students, with regard to how to write down the introduction, what to include, what not to include? Tell me. I'm going to be delighted to help you with that. Questions? No questions? Questions
No
about the
question.
introduction? Okay, thank you, Jorge, very much. What about the rest of you guys? Questions about the introduction?
Everything is clear.
Clear.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear sir, here in LA. Great. Well, so the first part of the essay is this, the introduction. 2 different facts, accordingly, your opinion. Remember, concise and clear, right? Direct, and transition phrase. Let's analyze the body now. Well, just as it happens, dear student, in the speaking section, right? When we were discussing the speaking section, task number 1, the body of your response is going to be a place for you to defend your position that until this point you have already stated, right? How are you going to defend it? Just as you did it in the speaking section. You're going to offer 2 arguments with 2 illustrations. That is to say, 1 first argument, 1 first illustration for that argument, 1 second argument, and 1 second illustration for that argument. That's it. Of course, you're going to follow here the template that we have outlined for you with all these connectors, and it's super easy. Okay, let's go with the first argument for my position. That is, the reading is indeed more educational than watching movies or TV, right? So let's see what is the first argument I am postulating. First, let's see how I used it. Reading. First, reading offers people the opportunity to have a slower and longer perception of different topics. This is my argument. As you can see, again, is as we practice in the speaking section, right? It's concise and it's direct. This is the best manner to avoid any confusion. Any inconveniences can be avoided by offering very short, concise, and clear arguments. The rest of the connectors here, the rest of the structure, you're going to use it for complementing and explaining further that particular argument you're mentioning here. So for example, this is my argument, right? Notice how I'm going to complement it. As a matter of fact, when people have a book in their hands, they have not trouble of moving on to the next thing without having understood the previous one. Namely, people can easily go back to the previous page and read again that section they may have not understood appropriately. Okay, so as you can see, I am following the structure and I'm complementing my argument, right? What comes next? According to apocryphal hearsay. Do you know what is an apocryphal hearsay, dear students? An apocryphal hearsay is basically something that you have listened to at some point in your life, but you're not sure if it is attested, nor authoritative, nor proven information or data. For example, have you ever listened to your grandmother saying the war is going to end in 100 years or something like that? Well, that is an apocryphal hearsay because all of us have listened to something like that at some point. The war is going to end in 100 years or in 2050. But it's merely an apocryphal hearsay because we don't have an authoritative source. We don't have a tested hypothesis. We don't have any institution with authority in order to remark or to confirm such information. That is the reason why it's apocryphal hearsay. Why do we use it here? Because as I told you, everything you have gathered in your life is useful for this essay, included here. Here's the point for you to mention all the data you have gathered, all the information, or your conspirational theories, mention them here. Why not? This is the point. And when you use this connector, you're basically recognizing that what you are about to say, it's completely free. That is to say, it's something that you listen to, you are not sure if it is true, but anyways helps to your position. Look at how I used it. It says, just 5 of 30 words read by somebody are forgotten by the reader. I made this up completely. I'm not sure if this is true. I listened to it twice or once in my life. Well, I mean, it's fine. As I say, you are recognizing that it's an apocryphal hearsay, so here you can write whatever you want. And as I say, You can actually invent it. You can make it up because nobody's going to notice it. The person who reads your essays, dear students, is another person just like you who doesn't know anything about reading. He's not a literature professor. It's just an English professional that wants to evaluate your essay. Okay, so don't get worried nor afraid of inventing and making that content. Okay. On top of that, I'm using a template notice and I continue complimenting. I never stop doing so. On top of that, reading offers the opportunity to have people retaining more than they would in fact retain if merely exposed to video content, right? I'm complementing what argument? Here, this one. Reading offers people the opportunity to have a slower and longer perception of different topics. Here you have it, okay? So after you finalize, as you can see, and to this point, everything is the first argument and its complement, no more than that. You have stated your first argument and you have complemented it. What do you do next? Well, the illustration, you guessed correctly. Just as I ask you and I beg you many times in the speaking section, that's number one, illustrations are everything here, okay? Illustrations make your arguments clear, make them powerful, make them compelling, make them attractive, make them personal. You have to illustrate, okay? How do you do it? Exemplifying. That's it. And remember, what is the secret formula for all illustrations? I told you, right? It has always two important characteristics: personal and a specific. If you come out with personal and specific illustrations, you are done. That's it. Okay, that's it. Exemplifying. I always struggle as a child with watching the TV documentary my professors used as material for my philosophy classes. Never was I more flabbergasted than that day when I got a book on the same topic written by the well-known philosopher William Lane Craig. For I did not have trouble to understand anymore. My mind went through all that content very smoothly. Moreover, I was not able to understand something. If I was not able to understand something in its fullness, then I could always stop for a while and thus to proceed. This illustration here, tell me if it doesn't exemplify this, that reading offers people the opportunity to have a slower and longer perception of different topics. It illustrates it in its perfection. What else? It's very personal. I'm talking about my own life when I was a child. And this is true, by the way, this happened to me in my childhood. If you don't have an illustration, come up with an illustration. Invent it, make it up, doesn't matter. It's very personal and it's very specific. I say, I got a book on the same topic written by the well-known philosopher William Lane Craig. Instead of mentioning this name, I could have simply said, I got a book on philosophy. But that wouldn't be to make it a specific. Make it as specific as you can, okay? And then, well, the rest is common. And this is how you have to illustrate. Remember, your illustration must always illustrate and exemplify the first argument you have here. And that is exactly the case for the second illustration. You're going to illustrate your second argument. And here, you are using this first illustration, right, this one, to illustrate what? To illustrate your first argument, right? Any question, dear students, about this, please tell me. Any question about the body, how to write it, concerns? Sergio, Jorge, Fabiana, Camila, Adriana, questions? Questions?
It's
No
clear.
questions? All right, thank you very much, Jorge. What about the rest of you guys? Questions? All right, sorry for my water. I have to drink because I'm trying to record from a cold. So, well, awesome. If you understood the first paragraph, what you have to do, then trust me, the second paragraph is a piece of cake because it's exactly the same. You're going to mention a second argument with a second illustration, but of course, with the only difference of using different connectors. Let me show you. Furthermore, here we're not saying second, right? We're using furthermore, another connector, furthermore. Furthermore, and here I'm gonna detail and, well, of course, state my second argument for defending my position. What is my position? TV is not more educational than reading. Why do I think that way? Well, second reason, because the content to be found in books does not distract people from the paramount idea. In fact, notice that I'm using the template. Furthermore, in fact. By the way, notice my argument continues to be concise, short, and clear. It is through this complement that I explain it further, but the argument itself must be concise because that is how you make it understandable, okay? Well, how do I complement it? In fact, this is to be one of the more illustrious characteristics, okay, of books when compared to the TV. Namely, they always stay attached to the topic and does not take you out of notion with music, lights, or any other effect. What's more, should somebody want to see how TV is so destructive when compared to books, he could look to the fact that TV documentaries are not considered educational material anymore, but mere entertainment. This is my argument, and here I have the complement, right? Using, as I say, all the structure I have mentioned, right? Awesome. Now, we come to the part of the illustration. We have offered our second argument. Now it's time for our second illustration. How do we illustrate? Let's see. To illustrate, that is the connector. It's also here in the structure, by the way. To illustrate, right? To illustrate. My sister has said to me that every single time she has watched a documentary about artists, it was not because she actually wanted to learn about music. All she wanted was to observe the incredible costumes utilized in that documentary. Plus, she has started to watch them in order to follow the most recent trending. Indeed, this is a great indicator to observe that TV merely turns away people's attention from real knowledge and learning. This is my illustration. By the way, it's not true. I made this up completely, okay? It's fine, as I say, there's no way the reviewer knows it because it's about me. But anyways, it's very personal. I'm talking about my sister, and it's very specific. I'm talking about documentaries, what she was paying attention to, costumes, lights, effects. I'm being very specific, okay? Use this. This is the illustration, okay, with the template. Here you have it. Awesome. I guess there are no questions about this one because it's exactly the same, right? Furthermore, argument, you complement, and you illustrate, okay? Remember, personally and specific. Well, we come to the last part, dear students, of our template. And what is that last part? Well, let me show it to you. Here you have the conclusion. And this is something new. This is something innovative because until this point with you, we have never discussed conclusions. And well, this is a good moment for you to write down conclusions. Why? First of all, here is a good moment for you to have as many words as you can. Writing conclusions, of course, if you have enough time for doing so, is going to augment your quantity of words, and that is going to be very much appreciated, not only by you, but by the reviewer as well. So, how should you write down your conclusion? Well, let me say, first of all, that the conclusion I'm going to teach you how to write down tonight is not conventional. It's not what people normally do, okay? What do people normally do? 90% of test takers, I would say, always write down conclusions that work as summaries. That is to say, they say, right, in conclusion, I have said that this is my argument, and I gave this illustration, and that's all. That is how they conceive conclusions very much normally, okay? As I say, 90% of test takers use this strategy. They conclude by making another summary. Now, what is going to be your approach? What I want to teach you tonight. Your conclusion, dear students, must not be such a boring conclusion. Remember, you are trying to stand out from the rest, right? And if 90% of people do that, well, you don't do it. You want to get a high score. You want to be in that selected group of people who gets more than 105, right? So, as I say, how you do it? You write down an innovative conclusion. What is that innovative conclusion in this case? Let me show it to you. To round off, I'd like to say that it is advisable, and let me show you how I use it. To round off, I would like to say that it is advisable that parents educate their children to read at least 2 times what they watch on the TV. This way, they could secure their children a good education and not to make them people addicted to simple entertainment. Can you notice what I'm doing? I'm offering a counseling, a recommendation, right? Now, I'm not arguing anymore in favor of my position. No, it's as if you had settled the discussion already. This is what conveys me. You know you know what I mean? That whenever you are recommending people to do something, whenever you are counseling people to do something, it's because you are the man, right? Because you have demonstrated that everything you said was true. You have, I don't know, finalized a task. You are the best in something. That is when you make recommendations and counseling. And remember, this essay is trying to be convincing. So if you illustrate that confidence, even here in your conclusion, imagine how much powerful, compelling, and confident it seems to the reviewer. As I say, by writing a conclusion, you separate yourself from the majority of test takers. You demonstrate your confidence in the defense and development of your own essay. And thirdly, you're not using repetitive content. Why? Because if you write down a conclusion, dear students, as the ones that that people normally write down as, in conclusion, we have said this and this and this and this, and I said this and this and this, it's repetitive. Why? Because you are actually making a recap of everything you have said until that point, and that is repetitive because you're just going to say, okay, what I said here, I'm going to express it one more time, and what I said here, I'm going to express it one more time. But that is useless, right? You are not actually helping yourself. You're not adding anything that is ingenious, that is novel. No, as I say, avoid those type of conclusions. Okay, every single time when you're about to finalize your essay, write down a conclusion, of course, related to your topic. If your topic is, for example, about cell phones, then say, well, to round off, I'd like to say that parents should actually avoid giving cell phones to their children, and especially making sure that applications like violent video games and other adult websites are canceled, something like that, right? You are adding new information that is novel, that brings more freshness to your response, to your essay. Do that, okay? That is what you have to do in this case. Is there any question about the conclusion, dear students, or any part that we have mentioned about this essay? Tell me. Sergio, Jorge, Fabiana, Camila, Adriana, questions about the essay, any part of it? Tell me, I'm going to be delighted to respond.
It's clear so far.
Thank you very much, Jorge. What about the rest of you guys? Questions about this? No questions? No? Sergio, Fabiana, Camila, Adriana, questions? No? Okay.
No questions.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Camila and Sergio. No, thank you very much. All right. Well, there you are. So if you don't have questions, then we're going to stop here. But I have another gift for you. When I was practicing myself for this exam, I told you, right? I practiced a lot, especially this section, because it was difficult for me. And this is not something that I normally do. But because of course, I practice a lot, I somehow gathered all my essays, the first essays that I started to write and the last ones in one single document. And I want to send it to you so you can read it if you want to use it as a vocabulary of, I don't know, as a vocabulary form, or simply to see the progress that I have, right? To how I wrote my essays, how I wrote them at the end. Well, there you have a lot of practices for the writing section that I wrote myself when I was training for this, okay? So just in case you want to have the material, it's already in the WhatsApp, all right? Fantastic. I'm gonna stop here then. I'm gonna tell your assistants, please don't go. And please, your students, help me with the traditional poll, okay? With your kind responses to the poll that we always have, okay? Help me with that. And let me open the list. If you have any commentary, please, you can say. Paper. Here we are. Well, is here present Ramírez Camila Ocángel.
Present.
Thank you very much, dear Camila. Okay. Thank you for your responses, dear students. Please help me with one more poll, okay? You know that every single Wednesday we have to fill 2 different polls, all right? So please help me with this second one. So sorry for bothering you again, but the company, you know. Help me with that one, okay? As we continue the list. Mayra Alejandra Perez. What about Salguero Fabiana?
Present.
Thank you very much, dear Fabiana. What about Quiroga Adriana?
I'm here.
Thank you very much, dear Adriana. What about Zúñiga Sergio?
Here.
Thank you very much, dear Sergio. Alondra Lisette. Okay, José Miguel Quiroga. All right. Anaí Estefanía. She was here. I don't know what happened. And finally, our dear Jorge Alberto Benitez.
Here present.
Thank you very much for it. There you are. Well, fantastic. So thank you very much for your responses to your students. Tomorrow we are going to practice for this task. So please don't miss tomorrow's class. Come with your keyboard configured in the American English version. And I see you tomorrow. Okay. Have a wonderful night.
So do
Thank
you
you.
call us
Bye.
Thank
tomorrow?
you.